Howdy, with this video, I want to go over essay number one. Kind of doing this a little bit early, but some of you like to work ahead, and I wanted to give you kind of an overview of the essay. Doing this video on Thursday, January 31st. For tonight, you're going to be responding to the other people's blog number two posts. Some of you have already done that. And again, for this Saturday, I've already sent you the list of poems to read. Don't want you to study each poem for 3 hours. Kind of read through the poem, kind of pause for a second, and then go on to the next one and kind of start seeing the moves these romantic poets tend to make. That's going to be a lot of blog number three, which hopefully you're going to get done by Saturday night. For essay number one, we have the whole week next week to work on that. It's probably going to take the whole week. This is not an easy essay, but hopefully it's one you do. It's stuff we've been working on all semester so far. So we're hopefully not dealing with anything horribly unfamiliar to you. Hopefully you noticed one other thing is that we're not trying to read every piece of world literature ever written in the history of ever. We simply don't have time for that. In fact, I can't imagine a course that would have time for that. But we're taking some major ideas and seeing how they trace through some of these the historical times and through some of the representative writers of those times. So sometimes it's like, well, we're not reading this person or we're not reading that person. We can't read everybody. We probably should be reading. We just don't have time for that. And you're going to see that kind of reflected in the first essay about how we approach that, where we're kind of working with a major idea and seeing how it traces through certain pieces. Don't forget we're meeting with Felicia Hankins on February 4th. I know you're tired of me saying that, but it's required. It's mandatory for you to go to attend this meeting to go on the trip. So make sure you're there. Also, we'll have stuff to talk about on our own about how we're going to get to Nashville, what we're going to do, how we're going to get there, and where we're going to stay, and things like that. The good news is we got approved for the money to help us with the hotel and the Northeast State minivan. So that's going to cut our costs quite a bit. And we want to spend our money in Denmark. Nothing wrong with Nashville, but the goal is to spend our money in Denmark, not there, right? At least on this trip. But we'll talk about that a lot on the 4th. I want to go over essay number one. And again, we're going to focus on one big idea and see how it relates to some of the literature we've been reading and what you're seeing, how you're seeing that idea relate to the different works. You're going to write a 1,350 word minimum. The reason I landed on that word count is I couldn't decide between 1,200 and 1,500, so I just split the difference and put 1,350. But what you're going to start your essay doing is developing a definition or interpretation. Of course, using sources. You don't have to do this all on your own. What Socrates is good at with that idea of his daemon, and how people are interpreting that, and ultimately how you interpret that. What do you think he's talking about there? Then you're going to trace this definition through three different authors. One's going to be Molière and Tartuffe. That's just required. I want you to talk about that play. You're going to talk about the poetry of one of the Romantic poets you're reading for Saturday. And then you're going to pick one other work we've read so far this semester, and that one's totally up to you. And also, you don't have to discuss the three authors in the order I give you. If you want to do Tartuffe last, I mean, by all means, if that works for your idea, then go ahead and do that. But your essay is going to discuss how your definition or interpretation of the daemon interacts with each of the three authors. And you may not end up saying the same thing about each author, right? They might be playing with this in different ways. Hopefully that's what's going to happen. You don't want to say the same thing over and over. Then by the end of your essay, you're going to try and discuss how your definition kind of ties these three authors together in some way. So you might talk about how they're kind of different throughout the essay, then kind of say, but here's why this is all kind of coming together, at least with this in terms of this one idea. So kind of a broad topic. Kind of wanting to see what you can come up with a little bit. Also, generally when you start getting to the sophomore, junior level, it's going to be a little more collaborative in terms of writing the essay, where you say, here's what I'm thinking, and I might give you suggestions, and you might be like, well, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, go for it then. If you have that vision going in your head, see where it goes. If I think you're going down a dark alley, I'll say exactly that. It's like, I don't know if you want to do that. That's going to be a hard essay or something. But I'll develop a more precise schedule about how we're going to work with the essay. I'm definitely going to want you to send your topic and maybe your first paragraph and see where you're getting your research from and things like that as you go along, and making sure you're on the right track. Especially with an internet class, it can feel like you're on your own. I don't want you to feel that way. Plus, on February 4th, we might talk about your essay a little bit as well once we're done with Felicia, and make sure you're on the right track. So hopefully, plenty of opportunity for collaboration or interaction with the essay. But hopefully, some of this idea has kind of struck you. This idea of an inner voice, this inner consciousness, still pretty powerful today, right? And even in terms of modern religion, like Christianity, do you discern truth in Christianity from reading the Bible and the church traditions and the church teachings, or is it more about this personal relationship that's kind of internal, where you develop this peace that surpasses all understanding, that really can't be articulated, uh, through language in any real way? It's something you kind of feel and experience, which is one thing kind of Kierkegaard was kind of getting at. And the kind of, I don't know. It's a hard question, and people, you can look around at all kinds of people of faith and in different religions even, trying to work through these ideas and how all this works. So we're still arguing a lot about most of these things, and we probably will continue to argue until we blow ourselves up or whatever happens. Um, but some essay requirements. Make sure you use an MLA formatting, and I'll try and help you with that. Once you get a good solid draft going, I want to see it, and I'll help you with that MLA formatting a little bit. But hopefully you get 90% of the way there, and I get I'll make sure you got the I make sure that you got it down. Uh, you should use at least between 2 to 4 sources. Um, your essay should be really developing your ideas. You don't want to make it too research heavy, but you're probably going to want to do some research about that Socratic daemon and what other people are seeing with that idea as you kind of develop your own interpretation of it. But especially when you get to Tartuffe, that poet, your poet, and that third author you're going to talk about, this should be your ideas. You should be kind of backing off on the research, maybe a little bit if if you need a little help on one of them, but don't make the essay research heavy. It should be more about your ideas and what you're seeing in the works. When you do use sources, obviously you want reliable, authoritative sources. You can also use the editors from our textbook. You paid for that textbook, and it's not free. So feel free to use our editors. You're going to quote at least once from the literary works you discuss. That's one reason we've been practicing that with the blogs. So you're not starting, point zero there. We've quoted from the plays. You're going to quote from the poetry for blog number 3. So hopefully it's kind of falling into place a little bit. Once you use all that fun punctuation, I'll post a handout. I'm not sure if there's one on DTool yet or not. I'll have to make sure I put that up there. Just watch out for some wording concerns. Should kind of be avoiding I. None of this. I personally think that, within an essay, your name's on the essay. I know it's you talking. You want to avoid got, get. I got a boyfriend. I got a pizza. There's usually more precise words than got, right? I got cancer or something. No, that's not a very precise verb. You're not going to be using you or your. You're not assuming the reader's seeing the same thing you are. So kind of try and avoid, at least for the most part, direct address to the reader. And you want to avoid the use word. You want to avoid using the word it. Sorry, it's been a long day. Want to avoid using the word it. Generally, it pushes you to passive voice or imprecise pronoun use. It's just a quick and dirty way to improve your writing quite a bit. And of course, you want to avoid overusing to be verbs. Using is and are constantly throughout an essay can be a little tedious. You want to start using action verbs. Hopefully, you've had a lot of this in Comp 1 and Comp 2. That's kind of the kind of broad overview of the essay. There's a rough outline there. The outline on the second page is probably for about an 8 or 9 paragraph essay. There's no set number of paragraphs for this essay. Definitely do not do a 5-part essay. You should be beyond that a little bit. But again, your first part of the essay, you're going to define and interpret that idea of the Socrates daemon. when I was developing this outline, I thought Kierkegaard would be a good place to start with that. You may not agree with Kierkegaard, but at least he's kind of a good place to start with, and uh, somebody we've read this semester so far. You might get out there and find another source that discusses this in a different way. But you're going to try and bring these ideas together and develop your own thesis statement. So kind of this idea of the daemon should kind of be a little bit of you in there. It may not be 100% you. You might be agreeing or disagreeing with certain people. But you want to kind of get your own idea kind of going and then turn that into your thesis statement and tell us how are you going to relate it to Tartuffe, the poet, and a third work. Then in the body of your essay, you're going to talk about each of those writers. You're going to start with Tartuffe, I'm sorry. I threw out Emerson's Self-Reliance. You do not have to pick that one at all. Some people really love Emerson and get into him, and other people are like, gosh, why do we keep coming back to him? But one reason is he keeps referring to this inner voice within us that kind of relates to a lot of different things in the literature that comes before him and after him. But you can do any other writer we've been looking at this semester. But you can kind of see within the paragraphs, you want to give good examples. Here's how this is relating to my idea of the daemon. You want to use a quote for support and make sure you discuss the quote and what that means in terms of supporting your ideas. And you probably want to use one or two examples with each work there, right? When you get to the poet, you might want to use, like maybe 2 poems and use those as examples of what you're talking about in one way or another. But you want to notice, once you kind of start to talk about general idea, then you want to kind of quote from the work to support what you're saying, and then discuss that quote in terms of what you're trying to prove in your essay. Don't just give a quote and then not comment on it. Quotes support what you say. They should not say things for you, right? Then at the end of the essay, I'm looking for you to kind of bring all these works together. What's the value of this analysis you've taken us through? And kind of bring it all to a good conclusion, hopefully, and have an awesome essay. And again, it's kind of a broad topic. I'm looking for you to kind of narrow it down and make the essay your own, and show kind of demonstrate to you what we've been learning so far, but been talking about so far. I'm gonna hopefully that kind of gives you kind of a broad overview. Like I said, once we get into it, we'll be emailing back and forth a little bit more and making sure you're on the right track and making sure you're having a good experience with the essay. But I'm going to get off here. We'll talk to you later. Looking forward to seeing everybody on the 4th there with the meeting with Felicia. Bye bye.